Hi and welcome back to the channel. So about 3 years ago I put a video up of the MX5 Speedster with a drive-by saying that it will be coming soon. Well, that didn't happen. Various things got in the way, birth of my daughter and just being so busy with work that I never really got around to actually doing that video. In the meantime, the car it's been used periodically, but it has stood for quite a long period of time, and now we're at a stage where some recommissioning is required. And regular viewers of the channel may have noticed, then may have picked up on the number plate, because it's been in the background sitting on this ramp, either on this ramp or under this ramp in most of the workshop videos. So I will be doing an actual video sort of based on showing like sort of all the details of the car and what we did to it, some of the build photos when it was first built 6 or 7 years ago. But now we're at this point where I need to do a bit of work to kind of freshen it up, some maintenance, servicing, that sort of stuff, and I'm going to be showing all that on the channel. What I'm going to do today is the water pump has sprung a leak, so that's leaking, so I'm going to be changing the water pump and cam belt today, because I may as well do the cam belt at the same time. So I'm going to run you through that, show you how we do it. Interesting that it's on the Speedster, but also some of you out there might be wanting to do that work yourself. I'll show as much of it as I can. Ashley's here today doing work on his orangey ready coloured Mark 2.5, so there's going to be some noise in the background, so I'll sort of show you as much as I can while he's trying to weld that up. All right, so we'll get cracking. So we've got a few differences on here. Obviously we've got a supercharger, so that's going to be a little bit different to some other people's jobs, but fundamentally it's going to be the same thing really. You've got a crossover pipe on a normally aspirated car anyway, so it's plastic, so we've got some of that to move out. I'm not sure whether I'll need to remove the charger or not yet. I don't think I will. So what we'll start with, the first port of call, is get this coolant pipe off. I would normally drain the coolant, but there isn't any in it because the water pump leak is that bad. So get that pipe off, get the crossover pipe off, get the cam cover off, and then I'll run you through the next steps. Okay, a bit of a tip here. I've got this bolt's been a little bit stubborn. They're not original fixings in here, so it's going to be a bit different. Normally be a 10mm headed bolt. So when you get a bolt that you're not sure about and it's feeling like it's going to snap, just go backwards and forwards with it a few times with it. Wind it out until again it feels tight, and then just go back in. Keep doing that, and with a bit of luck, you get it out without snapping it. It's sort of the only chance you've got, otherwise it will just snap. And obviously if you can, get some lubrication on it as well. Let's see if we manage to get this one out. Feeling like it's going to go. There you go, we got away with it. So in a normal case, if I'd have just carried on trying to undo that, force it open, it would have snapped. Okay, with the cam cover removed, the next step, and obviously the crossover pipe, coolant pipe, the next step is to get the alternator belt, and in this case supercharger belt, removed to then gain access to the things behind. The alternator is adjusted via a 12mm headed bolt there and another one here, 14mm down the bottom there, and that will allow us to then swivel the alternator through and remove this. This one's a little bit different if you haven't got a supercharger, in so much as there would normally be a bolt through here, through the water pump, through the power steering pump, and an adjustment mechanism up there. On this one we've got to adjust these areas here to get that belt out of the way. So let's crack on and get that done. Forgot to mention there that it's best to crack off these 10 mils on the water pump pulley before you undo the alternator belt, because it'll just keep trying to spin round otherwise. It just makes life a little bit easier if you crack them off now rather than try and do that after that belt's been removed. Okay, we call this the curse of the MX5 Restorer. Whenever you work on your own car, something always goes wrong which you weren't intending. That is what's left of the adjuster clamping bolt that goes into the alternator. I'll show you where it goes. So that there is the other end of it, and it should go through a block behind here that then clamps and stops the alternator. Part of what stops the alternator from moving back and forth like that. So what that means is that at some point before finishing this job off, I'm going to have to take that out and attempt to drill and tap that. Great. So now with those belts out of the way, the next step is to remove this bottom pulley. Our technique normally is 1mm socket, long extension bar, car left in gear, handbrake on, and just go for it. Now what you've got to be really careful of is when it does go, the extension bar might come this way and hit your headlight lid, so good to have one that's got a swivel joint on it, and then you can just make sure you're out of the way. Sometimes you do need to get a longer bar on it. Whoops. It's going to need a longer bar. So occasionally that method doesn't actually work. What you have to do is, on the pulley there's normally four 10mm headed bolts there. So you remove those and then you have to use a crank locking tool, which I've now got in place. Bolts into those four bolt positions on the lower crank pulley, and then that kind of hooks itself up and around the water pump, if you can see that. So that hooks around there, and then that locks it all in place. That is kind of the best way to do it, but you don't always need to do it this way, and then if you don't need to do it this way, it does save time doing it the other way. But Another job that needs to be done on this car is the clutch. So what was happening there when I was trying to undo that is the clutch was slipping, so therefore it wasn't allowing it to lock up enough for me to undo it. So hopefully now normal service should resume and I can just pull that round and undo it. Now with that central bolt removed, I'll get the rest of this boss off in a minute. What we're going to do now is go ahead and remove the front face covers. So we've got various 10mm headed bolts in various locations, which will then allow us to remove all these plastic covers off and then get access to the cam belt behind it. Okay, a couple of things. So I put the front of the pulley back on the central boss just to give me some leverage to be able to lever that off because it was stuck fast. At some point during this I've somehow managed to break the temperature sensor. I'll have to look back through the video and work out when I did that. It may well have already been broken because I certainly didn't notice myself doing it, so normally I take a little bit of force to break. I'd imagine it's probably when I was pulling off the plastic covers, so that may well have been broken. So the next stage, oh, and also while we're here you can actually see the evidence of where that water pump has been leaking now as well. Try and get in there for you. It's loads and loads of residue all over the place, so yeah, well and truly had it. So yeah, next step is to undo the tensioner, get the cam belt off. You'll notice that I've already got everything lined up. It's not crucial to do that at this stage, so we've got mark there, another one there, and then that's lined up with top dead centre. It's not crucial to do it at this stage, but it just makes life a little bit easier later on. As I take the belt off, one of these was spring round anyway, so it just means it just makes it a little bit easier later on. So what I'm going to do is get the belt off, and then we're going to start to remove the water pump. So there's various bolts. We've got that one there, another one there, another one there. There's one up behind here somewhere that we'll see in a minute, and then off the outlet there, and then the pump will come away. So now with the water pump removed, you need to go in and just clean up all the surfaces. I've already gone in with a blade and just cleaned off any old gaskets from this area and this area. I've had a bit of a clean up down here as well. So yeah, once that's all done, it's a case of getting the new water pump, getting the gasket ready and fitting it in there. Okay, so on a new water pump, while you're still preparing it to put it in, you just need to have a very, very fine layer of sealant on both mating surfaces, literally just to hold the gasket in place really for when you're fitting it. What you don't want to be is in a situation where you've got so much sealant on there, it's effectively holding the pump away from the block, which then means you think you've done it up tight enough, but you actually haven't, because it's the sealant that's holding it. So that you want to sort of just literally just a very fine coat. If I push on this, you can see there's no sealant sort of forcing its way out. It's literally just being there, used just to hold that gasket in place. That's all you really need. Right, I've gone ahead and fitted the idler pulley to the water pump there, and the tensioner pulley. And what I've done is pushed that all the way back, and then just nipped it up to give me the room I need, or the clearance I need to be able to get the cam belt on. So the next step is cam belt. So we need to check that the pulley, bottom pulley, crank pulley is lined up at top dead center. So there's a little cutout just here. The intake pulley will need to come round slightly, and the exhaust pulley is in the correct place. So it must be lined up with here. Intake pulley is slightly out. I don't know if you can see that there. It should be lined up here, so it's slightly out. So we'll line that up as we go ahead and put the belt on. So the belt's now in position, all the points are lining up. I've just released the tensioner pulley, and all I'm going to do is just apply a little bit of tension this way, just take up any slack there, and then tighten the tensioner pulley. Just give it a bit of a push just to make sure it's all seated okay. Whoops, put that right way around, that'll help. Tighten up. Now I'm just going to go around and nip everything up, and then rotate through 360 degrees and just make sure everything is still where it should be. So that's it, it's rotated round. You see that point there is vertical. Can I get in there? Those two are lined up. Those two are lined up. That's vertical. And down here, the cutout in that pulley is lined up with that arrow there. So all good. Not too much tension. Right, so that is more or less all I need to show you really. Everything else just goes back on the same way it came off. Obviously I do need to now remove my alternator and drill this out. So yeah, so I shall just be fitting this all back together, all back in the same way it came off. As I said before, there's some slight differences on this car because we've got a different tensioner here because of the supercharger, but there's nothing there that's going to fox anyone. It's very normally kind of similar to this side. So yeah, so that's it. So that's stage one of recommissioning the Speedster. We'll go on a few other things, and we'll start looking at the other items on the car in another episode. Thanks for watching.